back, everybody. So today we're going to have the first tasting of my wet hop Chinook IPA using 40L or Crystal 40. Now I wanted to make these. I don't believe I did this before. I know I made a beer, I believe, comparing a pellet versus a hop, but I wanted to do a wet hop of some of these beers and how it pairs with crystal malts. Now, the hard part about this is you have a small window for wet hops, and of course when it was time to pick the Chinook hops, most of my fermenters were full, so I didn't get very many. I think we have 4 of them. I'm going to do each one of them, then I'm going to compare one versus one, and then maybe all 4 of them. But this is the first one, like I said. You could call it an IPA, call it a pale ale, 5.24. Phone's going crazy. You're right in that range, at least to me. If it's a pale ale or an IPA, I guess you could say 5.5. I could consider an IPA anything less. I could go with pale ale, but when we're looking at the IBUs, I'm not sure because they are homegrown hops. I don't know what the alpha acid is, so I don't know if this is going to be very bitter or what. Now, usually, I said this in another video. It's hard to judge how much quantity or the quantity you should use as far as wet hop. Again, like I said in another video, which I'll try and remember to link up here, but a couple years ago when I started growing these, 4 or 5 years ago I should say, it was 4 to 1. So if they were wet hops, you would use, say, 4 pounds versus 1 pound of dry hops. Now, why is that? All that water that's in there, you're going to have to use a lot more. But I did look a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, and it's more up to like 6 to 1. So 6 pounds of wet hops versus 1 pound of dry hop. Man. So for this one, small batch, 1.25 gallons going into the fermenter. 2 pounds of Roar Premium Pilsner, then 2.4 ounces of caramel Crystal 40L. Now, for my grain bill ratio, that's 93% and 7%. Usually for a pale ale, maybe you want 5%. For an IPA, you can have all the way up to 10%. So technically, looking at this for the grain bill, this would be more of a IPA than it would a pale ale. For the hops, 0.25 ounces of Chinook at 60, 0.25 ounces at 30, 0.25 ounces at 15, then 0.5 ounces at end of boil, flame out. So it wanted a gravity of 1053, post-boil gravity of 1053, 13 bricks, which is about a 1052. This finished at 5.24% ABV, was bottled on 9/1. We're a couple days into October. Let's go ahead and get this open, get it into the glass. 4 small pearl carbonation tablets were used. Okay hiss, good smoke. Nottingham yeast was used on this one. Go ahead and get it in here. There we go. Not much of a head, tannish colored head from what I do have, not even a 1/4 finger. Small and medium bubbles in there. Ooh, I do have some floaties. That's going to be because I bottled directly out of the fermenter, so those, it's probably yeast and trub that was left over. Light caramel color more in here, yellowish, kind of hazy, somewhat hazy. I cannot see the bell sign. I can see kind of the outline of the light box, but I can't see it like I normally would through there. So let's go ahead and smell and see what we get. Little citrus, that sweeter malt is sticking out. It's almost like a caramel, like a very light sweet caramel. No spiciness, citrus. Yeah, I would have to say a light citrus with a sweet caramel smell. Now that Crystal 40, it's going to be kilned a little bit more, so it's going to give off a little sweetness to it, I believe, especially because we're using a pale malt, which is going to be almost nothing. You are going to get a little, you could say, very light toasted bread, but that I believe that Crystal 40 is going to come through the most, and it does. But yeah, I'm surprised with that low amount of hops in here. I'm getting some citrus out of it. Because, like I was saying, 4-to-1, 6-to-1, somewhere in there, and we're only using 0.25. I mean, in some of these small batches, that's what I use. So I was actually thinking, I needed to go with almost a full ounce in a small batch like this. But let's go ahead and taste, see what we get. More fallish type. That crystal sweetness is in there. Toasted malt sweetness is definitely what stands out. There's I want to say like a yeasty taste, and I didn't get that from the split batch I used that Nottingham in, but this kind of has, like, on the back end, almost like a doughy bread sweetness to it. I do get a tiny bit of bitterness, but if anything, I would say this is way under hopped. That malt is just there, and I'm trying to search more. Even in the aftertaste, it's more of a sweet, malty caramel sweetness is what it is. But there is a little bit there. Is it balanced? No, but I don't even want to say like citrus. There has to be something, because I'm pulling something that's like cutting that citrus. I mean, that sweetness. Maybe it's like on the back, right before it goes down. There's a little, I want to say, sweeter lemon breadiness, like that Nottingham, which I don't know if that's it. I'm gonna try the split batch again, because I haven't got to that yet. But yeah, I don't know where that yeastiness is coming from. But it feels like, yes, this is very overpowered with malt. Which, if it's 4-to-1, 6-to-1 on wet hop, fresh hops, I think this is how it should taste. Now, I do have one that's doubled, so I'm going to do that. Then we'll see what that came out with. But this is okay. Would it be something I would brew again? No. That's why I'm making these small batches. Let's test out all this and see what works for me. Now, what works for me might not work for you. Depending on where you live, you might have to use less hops, wet hops, or more hops. But we just have to taste them and see. So if you enjoyed this video, check some more out over here. And until next time, happy brewing.